If you are watching this channel for the first time, please we advise you click on the share button, click on the red subscribe button, and on the notification button, so that when we have a new episode coming out, directly it will be shared to you. You will have the link and be notified of this edition because they keep on coming and it will interest you, it will move you to another level. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, onto today's episode on the Daily Positive Living Principle channel with Dr. Daniel Otto. In today's episode, we'll be talking on another aspect of the blame game, which I titled The Blame Game and Its Effect on our public, on our institutions, on our organizations, on our leadership and government positions. In our previous episode, we discussed extensively on what the blame game is, the origin of the blame game, its effect on the individual, and the effect on family life, relationships, and connections, which we extensively dealt with, and I refer you so you can refresh your memories on that. So in today's episode, we are talking about that effect in institutions, organizations, leadership, and in government. Recall that when we are talking about institutions, we are talking about both public and private institutions and organizations. But you will agree with me that the effect of blame game is very minimal when it comes to private organizations, private institutions. But the effect is colossal. The effect is highly humongous. It is disastrous and massive when we talk about blame game in public institutions. Why? There is this notion when it comes to public institution that it belongs to nobody. It is not anybody's personal property. It is taken as a national cake. And so people enter public institution, public organization, with the aim of going to enrich themselves with that greed. And so nothing works. The slogan in public institution is that it belongs to nobody, but it belongs to the person which is in power, which is ruling, or the person who is elected. And so he begins to misuse and does anything anyhow. And this is why things are not moving in our public institutions. And we need to deal with it if we want to move forward. How does it affect, which area does it affect us in public institutions? Let's talk about the ones in punctuality. What is punctuality? Punctuality is the quality of being on time. It is the habit of a human being executing or completing his tasks on time, or completing his tasks in a timely fashion. Why is punctuality important? It is important because it shows our integrity. It reveals our integrity. It ensures our dependability. It shows how dependable we are, how disciplined we are. It shows our humility, and above all, shows how we are committed to structures or in a systematic manner. So punctuality is a sign of being committed to systems and structures. So why are we talking about punctuality? Most times when it comes to resumption of duty, attendance and all that in meetings, we find fault. There are faulty registers, faulty attendance and resumption time. So when you look at our registers and attendance, people feel in wrong timing. People are more committed to closing time than resumption time. And so working hours are reduced. So productivity time is reduced. So you find a worker in a whole week just working for a few hours. And this is on a platform that it belongs to nobody. And so the hours we need to put in for our productivity is reduced drastically. That is why we're talking about. So punctuality is actually a criteria that you can differentiate developed countries from underdeveloped or developing countries. Take, for example, if the kind of weather that exists in developed countries like United States of America, especially in winter, severe winter where there is snow, if it happens like that in African countries and in Nigeria especially, nobody will go to work. But you find people in severe winter and snow conditions. People in developed countries are punctual. They are committed to work, because if there is no work, there is no pay. If there is no work, there is no food. You need to work for everything that you do. But that does not happen in our developing countries. One people was asked, listen to this story. One people was asked when he went to school very late by his teacher, "Why did you come late, people?" Guess the answer. He said, "It's because my father and my mother were fighting." How does that affect your coming to school early? He said, "The teacher, do you know that my school shoe was being used by my mother to fight my father? So I was waiting for them to finish their fight, so they can give me my shoe for me to be on my way to school. That is why I am late." Punctuality. People shift blame when it comes to issues of punctuality. In what other areas does it affect us? In roles and responsibilities. What is a role? A role is somebody's position in a team. The position for which he was assigned or employed. What about responsibilities? Responsibilities refer to the tasks and duties of that particular role. Or it means a job description. So many people should have, or every employee should have roles and responsibilities, terms of reference, and job descriptions. But in public institutions, roles and responsibilities, some are not even provided. People shift blame for roles. When it comes to fulfilling a role and responsibility, people give multiple excuses for assignment for things that are not done. They find fault in others and make people scapegoat when it comes to roles and responsibilities. So you find functions and things and assignment and tasks are not completed because of roles and responsibilities. People excuse themselves from a particular role for multiple excuses. That's why we are talking about. One day, one man attended interview. He wanted to be employed. And the interviewers were saying, "We want a responsible officer." When the man came for interview, the first question they asked this man, "We are looking for responsible officers. How do you think you are responsible?" Guess the man's answer. He said, "Employ me. I'm a responsible officer." Why? He said, "In my previous working place, everywhere I have worked in publishing company. In fact, when I work in one publishing company, the major equipment as I went to work got spoiled. And guess what they say? They say I was the one that was responsible. I've also worked in sales industry. The moment I went there, their sales reduced. And guess what? They say I'm the one that's responsible. So anywhere I have worked, I've worked here and there, they say I'm the one responsible for their failure and all that. So what do you think? I am a responsible officer. So employ me, I'm responsible." Blame game. So what are we saying? People shift roles, people shift responsibilities based on the notion that it does not belong to anybody. So people do things anyhow. And this is the culture, and it needs to be changed. What other areas are we talking about as it relates to our public institution? Agenda and declaration of agenda. What is an agenda? Agenda is a word, a plural form of a Greek word called agendum, which literally means something that should be done. It's things that should be done in an organization of time and events. So agenda is actually a plan, is an objective, is a consensus. It is a list of programs or a proposal or a schedule which will guide the clarity of what the person needs to do, or something that the person needs to do when he's elected, his program of events. But most times, agendas are formed based on greed, selfish interests, religious sentiments, and so it is biased. So, and once agenda is not set, it means that event, that activities, that program, that period of ruling will not be effective, because everything should be based on agenda. Every meeting should have agenda. Every government should have agenda. Every organization for the period of that leadership will have agenda. Once that agenda is not well set and is shifted, is on blame game, you can be assured that that leadership, the effectiveness will not be there. It will not be fair for everybody. And that is why we are talking about this. So agenda, people have hidden agenda, ulterior motive when they are forming their agenda, when they are declaring the agenda. Hidden agendas have been a major reason why things are not moving well. And we need to talk about it very seriously. What about management of the institution? Management is the core of any institution. When we talk about having meetings, when we talk about supervision, when we talk about monitoring, when we talk about evaluation, these are core management principles as we manage the resources, judicious and rational use of human resources, of manpower, of materials, of time and all that. So management is key. But when you talk about meetings and all that, monitoring to make sure there is consistency to objective, like in monitoring, you monitor the process to show that the objective is being met. In most times, the process of monitoring is not followed. Even in supervision to make sure that the people that are working are doing their job in an effective and efficient manner is not being followed. Even the money that will be assigned for supervision, it will either be embezzled by somebody. And so things go on like that in a public institution without proper evaluation, without proper management. And so management is lacking when we talk about these public institutions as a result of what? A blame game. What are we talking about? In maintenance of infrastructure, this is another area again that is actually very key when we're talking about public institutions. The maintenance culture, especially in public institutions, is very bad. You see a government infrastructure, assets are dilapidated, leaking roof, tattered floors because of lack of maintenance. You can see a building, especially when it is far from the center. When you're talking about state, local governments and all that is far from the center, the management and maintenance of those structures are very, very poor. A building may be left unattended to for 4, 5 years or 6 years. Nobody has painted, nobody has done any maintenance on it, and it's left like that to dilapidate. So these are things that happen. Maintenance culture in a public institution, that is where you find that even assets, equipment can be left unattended to. Some equipment that got spoiled just because of a small amount of money can be left unattended to and parked. Even a vehicle can be parked for how many years because of a singular thing that has a fault and is a minimal, the money is so minimal that it can just be repaired. But it will be left unattended to, it will deteriorate to a level, get to a level where it will be auctioned out to people of their own choice. Just be sold, it will be sold like a giveaway. That is what happens in public institutions. So at the end of the day, the vehicles and all that are wastage of resources. That is what happened. And we need to talk about this. So why are we talking about this? As I begin to round up, because if things are to work, then it means that we need to change our behavior. Because of the blame game, we even have something like African time. When the meeting is supposed to start 9 o'clock, if you want people to come at 9 o'clock, it means you should commence the meeting. You should announce that the meeting will start 8:30 because of African time. There is no time that is for African. Time is time. As I begin to round up, listen to this story of a nurse who is always punctual at closing time, but not punctual at resumption time. This nurse on duty, anytime it is 4 p.m., whether you come in emergency or not, he is already on her way home. And one day, guess what happened? While she was closing from work, somebody was brought in as an emergency. The person had an accident and was bleeding profusely. When this patient was brought in this emergency condition, he was already on her way, and he decided that he was not coming back. And so she started going home when the person was still bleeding. When she got home, he now found that nobody was at home. After a while, she now got a call that, please, your husband has been involved in an accident. Please come to social hospital and come for your information. Come and see him. By the time he got there, she found out that the husband has already died. And to realize that it was the same husband that was brought while she was on duty. And because of her negligence, blame game, and giving of excuses, she lost her husband. If only she stayed back and attended to him, it would have saved her husband. What are we talking about? The blame game is the reason why things are not moving. The blame game is the reason why we are stagnated in one position. And we need to talk about it if we are to move forward. As we talk about this, we are talking about behavioral changes so that our institutions, our leadership positions would be taken with seriousness as if it's our personal property. When it is taken as nobody's property, it becomes worse. Follow me gently as we go on this journey, and I know you will not remain the same. Follow me gently, subscribe to this channel. Please share this with others as we go on this channel, and stay tuned for the next episode. God bless you, really good.